And welcome to the NHL show on the Solder on Sports podcast. Mark Sauter and my guy Justin from the Hawk. This show is brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code SPORTS10, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off selected promo code SPORTS10. Not only do you get 10% off of Rails items as well. Do the math. 20 becomes 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60. You get the idea. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off your order. Apex Media, thank you guys for having us on board as always. Baseball playoffs, Justin, right around the corner. Football's in full swing. Basketball's not quite right around the corner, a little bit longer. Hockey season, like we're talking about today, right around the corner. They also have a health website. They talk like gambling. They talk video games. They talk pop culture. They talk everything. TotalApexMedia.com. Once again, I'm Mark Sauter. This is the NHL show. Philadelphia Flyers writer extraordinaire, Justin from the Hockey Writers. How we doing on a Friday, bro? Good to see you.
I'm doing good. 2 weeks, I think, just around until hockey season starts. It's been a long summer. It was a long spring as well. It's been 6 months since the Flyers have really played hockey. Some fans are a little more privileged. They get to see playoffs. So this is more exciting for me, I guess, because it's just been so long. It's been so long. And I'm very excited to see, the Flyers, but also all the teams around the league. I love watching hockey, whether it's prospects or NHL. So finally happy.
Yeah, man, we're finally here. And it's funny because, like, as a Leafs fan, it's like we make it to the playoffs. But, I mean, I guess this past year we made it to the second round, game 7. But typically we're only in it for a couple weeks longer than you, bro. It's okay. We may seem like we're far ahead, but really it's just a couple weeks longer. So people might ask, Mark, like you write for the Hockey Writers, all of these wonderful writers to choose from. Why choose Justin? Well, not only is he a terrific writer, not only does he know his stuff about the whole league, he's an Eagles fan, and we stick together. Well, who else would I rather have on than a fellow Birds fan? Absolutely love having you, man. I appreciate it very much. Well, speaking of your Philadelphia Flyers, we're going to go, just for everyone knows how this works, we're going to go from the bottom of the standings last season right up to the top, just have a conversation about every team as we go along. And the Philadelphia Flyers are up first. Your team, we were talking pre-show about the fact, I think my camera froze. That's okay. I'll fix that in a minute. We were talking before the fact that needs to go to a Philadelphia sporting event. And especially now, the way that the Flyers are and just that their like seasons have been going, it's an experience like none other. For the negative, but also for the positive. It's the best. Philadelphia Flyers, 33, 39, and 10, 76 points last year, 238 goals for, 286 goals against. Right off the bat, I got to fix my camera, so I'm going to throw it to you right now. Give me a rundown on how you felt about the season last year, and what are you looking forward to, and not even forward to in the sense of like a positive forward to, just what are you looking to as the 2025-26 season gets underway? And I will fix my camera and I'll be right back. Tell me what you have for last season coming
up. Last year was kind of the best case scenario for the Flyers, even though they went from a playoff team in 24 to or borderline playoff team in 24 to a basement team last year. Michkov was very good. He was awesome, in fact. Probably the Flyers' best player, I would argue. The ice time wasn't great. He was only getting second line minutes. But at the end of the year, when he was getting those top line minutes, he was legitimately, he had a superstar impact. There's no other way to put it. He was with Brad Shaw after Tortorella was fired and interim Shaw replaced him. Michkov was getting top line minutes, and he was on pace for like 108 points, I believe, over an 82 game season. So with those boosted minutes, he was really having an impact, and that's a 20-year-old rookie who was just moving from Russia to the United States. So that was the biggest goal this or last year, and the Flyers accomplished that. Their franchise player is probably going to be a superstar, almost definitely going to be a superstar, maybe the best player in the league, possibly. You could see it last year. He really did show that. Other than that, it wasn't great last year. Um, a lot of guys either stagnated or regressed. The goaltending was even worse than it was in 24. It was one of the worst in the NHL in 24. Team save percentage, they were either second worst or worse, depending on uh, what site you look at. And last year, they were the worst, by far the worst. And maybe you can blame that on coaching, which has completely been overhauled. Or you could say the Flyers just aren't talented enough. And that kind of blends into this season where they didn't really change much. They added Dan Vladar in the offseason. He is I would say, a good backup, but I don't think he's going to exponentially raise your ceiling. So the Flyers aren't going anywhere. If their goaltending is bad, they aren't going anywhere. They're not going to touch the playoffs. They would be lucky to even compete for a wild card at that point. So we'll see what the new coaching brings in. Uh, Specifically, Rick Tocchet being in is kind of it's a breath of fresh air. Couturier, the Flyers captain, look at what he is saying right now. He is leaving it all out there on what he felt about John Tortorella. He did not like Tortorella. He's saying he doesn't like Tortorella without saying it, and I feel like that speaks volumes when your captain and your head coach don't like each other. That can be a big thing when you replace that guy with a great communicator like Rick Tocchet. So maybe that works in their favor. Adding Trevor Zegras could work in their favor. A new first line center that could have an impact. But other than that, it's kind of the same team. There will be some rookies, I think, competing for roster spots. They could be a fun team to watch, but I wouldn't say that they're a playoff team. I think they're probably closer to the basement of the Metro than like that fourth or fifth spot. But anything can happen, especially with, again, a new coach and Michkov. If he does take that next step, if he is what he was at the end of last year, which is a borderline superstar, maybe they compete for a wild card. But I think they're like an 80-ish point team. Maybe they get to 85, but that would be my range for Philly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is with them when it comes to making the playoffs, because I'm actually a bit higher, and like you're there, you write about them, you cover them, you know much better than I do. But when I look at the roster, like it's not overly different from last year, but they got some good players, and it almost feels not quite the same, but it almost feels like Calgary last year, where everybody was just pinning Calgary as 100% basement material. They're going to do nothing. And I'm looking at this roster going, it's not that bad. Like, they got some good players. They got guys who can skate, guys who can score. Talking about like I that you referred to. And I'm looking at this roster like Michkov, Couturier, I believe Konechny's new contract starts this year, right? This is kind of put up or shut up for him this season, right? This is kind of like, all right, man, to prove to people what you can do. You have Forrest. 6 is pretty thin. After that, the defense top 3 is pretty solid. Other than that, I want to ask you, but like to me, I feel like making the playoffs or at least being competitive for a wild card spot to do with like who are you taking out of the playoffs who made it last year? Like we all know there's at least one team that kind of falls flat on their face. Look at the Rangers last year, right? But when it comes to the wild card teams, I think Montreal is going to be better. I think Ottawa is going to be as good. I don't know if they'll be necessarily better than they were, but they'll be as good. I think Columbus, like they're going to be better. I think a lot of people were kind of down on their summer. We're going to talk about it, but I think Columbus, they're going to be pretty good. The Rangers have to be better than what they were last year. I think the Islanders are going to be competitive, I think. So to me, it's not even just about what the Flyers are. It's just more that everyone else around them has kind of gotten better. Aside from a couple teams that we'll talk about later. So that's more for me. I want to know your thoughts, and you kind of touched on it. Like I've been hearing people really down on the goaltending tandem and saying Vladar, like you said, like he's a good backup. He's okay. I mean, putting Sammy in a backup position, I think is phenomenal. I think he's a really good goaltender who's had to work way too much over the last 2 years. Now there's the Carter Hart situation. Who could have foreseen that coming? All these different things. And defense has been leaky to say the least. But to me, like worse starting goaltenders than like Danny Vladar. I mean, I think what a 2. I don't have it in front of me. 2.8 something goals against. I think he was just below 900 save percentage. Not the worst. How do you feel? Is it like Vladar that you're worried about, or is it the defense in front of Vladar that's going to cause the most problems, you think?
I feel like I'm worried about everything, but Ersson also, I don't know what to think about him because I think back in 23, he had a short stint as a backup. He won like a bunch of games in a row, and he was pretty good. I think he got sent back down to Lehigh. And then in 24, he is the backup, and he plays really well. And then he's forced to become like this 60 game per 82 starter, and he is unplayable at the NHL level, basically. And ever since, that's pretty much been the case. He's not really even an NHL goalie these past few years. That's how bad it's kind of been. And so I don't know what to think. Like, can he be a 1B? Maybe, but I don't know because it's just been so hectic and the Flyers haven't really given him a chance because his backups last year were 2 rookies who were also AHL level goalies. I think Ersson is probably a good backup, but again, we don't know because we haven't seen it really in 2+ years, him getting a workload that is fair to him. And then you have the defense. There are pieces there, but for example, I don't think York is a top pairing guy yet. Sanheim is borderline, and I think he's good. He'd be a great number 3, I think, on a cup contender. But is he a number 1 defenseman? No, I don't think so. And there's not much behind them either. So I'm just curious what happens here, especially with a new coaching staff. It's so up in the air. I would probably go on the side of caution and be like, okay, it might be an issue, but it could be good. Who really knows? Maybe they are average in net. That's basically the best case scenario. But I think like the fair assumption is that they're probably one of the worst. And if they are, then playoffs are just not really in in the conversation because goaltending is very, very important.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I know that we're doing this. Do you have me, Justin?
I do, yeah. Well, not anymore. It's just a little buggy, I guess. I think you're back now though.
Yeah, no, it's acting. My acting up on my end. To after we're done, I'm gonna go in and doctor this up. If you're watching live, my eye is now you know how it is now. So I don't know what's going on with my internet now, but we'll just have to power through. All right, moving on. The Pittsburgh Penguins. I will say last thing is what you said about Rick Tocchet. I am really curious to watch. I heard somebody say that he's going to basically just make people work hard, which, like, to me is just. I'm not, or I mean, but I'm not athlete by any means. But when I hear like people work hard, it's like a pretty good track record. Like, what is this about people like Rick Tockett's gonna make people like that's not already happening? Like, what are we talking about? But moving forward. All right, moving on. The Pittsburgh Penguins. I was busy my like finding up what I about the Pittsburgh Penguins, but while I do that, the Pittsburgh Penguins, man, everybody team up to be a Bob Feener. They're automatically for the number one draft next year. Russ, Raquel, and all. No one's going to be here by this. They're just going to sell out every nation. Is Sidney Crosby? Is he going to get traded? Blah, blah, blah. That's just my opinion. What talk about when it comes to the Pittsburgh Penguins, man? Like, this is just another one up to be. You have talent. Is there any, and I do feel like I just like this team is really hard. I do think they're going to trade everybody. You know what I mean? So it's like we can sit here and make predictions, but I feel like this team is going to be a whole new roster by the time that the trade deadline comes around. What do you got about the Pittsburgh Penguins, man? They've been doing this semi-rebuild-ish thing, and it feels like they're finally bottoming out, which is what they should have done years ago. What is there to say about the Pittsburgh Penguins?
I'm not sure that the Penguins are terrible. They haven't really changed their roster that much from last year. They had 80 points, and they weren't the worst team in the division. So they could be better than Philly, for example.
Fair.
But with them, I don't really see the upside as opposed to other teams in the division. Philly, they added Zegras, who could be, like, if he really hits his ceiling, an 80-point center. That is genuinely a possibility. With Pittsburgh, it's like they didn't really add anything, and they're getting older, and they have already been old, and I just don't see them crossing a certain threshold, like 85 points. If they get past there, I'd be a little surprised. So with them, I think they're the fairest bet to probably finish last in the Metro. But I still do like some things about their team. They still do have some interesting young players. Ville Koivunen is one who I don't think gets talked about nearly enough. I think he had 7 points in 8 games last year for Pittsburgh. He was fantastic in the AHL. And the Jake Gensel trade, I wasn't a big fan of it, but that was a good return that they got with Koivunen. He could instantly be a top 6 winger that they didn't have last year. But then again, you get into, do they trade Rickard Rakell? Do they trade Brian Rust? Do they trade Crosby? If any of those happen at any point in the year, they're just going to plummet. Because even if a guy like Rakell or Rust don't seem like star or superstar players, they are important to guys like Crosby to help them score points. You need guys who are going to finish your passes. You need guys who are going to create their own offense. That is very important for a team. And if they're not there, it just messes everything up. So Pittsburgh is like kind of a wild card, I guess, but I wouldn't have them near the playoffs. I think they're a safe bet to be like a bottom, I don't know, like 5 to 10 team at least. I don't think they're the worst team in the league. I think Chicago, maybe San Jose, maybe even Nashville would be better suited for that. But Pittsburgh's kind of close to them, I would say. There are some things to watch, but I am not going out of my way to watch Penguins games this year. Yeah, I don't see a reason to. I guess I'll continue. So I guess I'll follow up with goaltending, I guess, because last year it wasn't very good. I think they were right there with Philly or around there for a long portion of the season. They did have Seelovs, who might be an upgrade. I don't know. He hasn't played a ton at the NHL level, so it's hard to really see. But in the AHL, I'm fairly certain he had a pretty good year. And so
I just don't think that decor to really help him out at all. Now, with regards to trading pieces, I just don't know who, like, if you're not trading Rakell, and this is if you're not trading Rakell, if you're not trading Carlson, if you're not trading Rust, what exactly are you doing? Like, what are you trying to do? You know what I mean? And like, why wouldn't you trade those guys and try to get something for Sidney? People don't believe this. I think everyone that knows hockey does believe this. Sidney Crosby knew what he for when he signed this. Like, if you're keeping all of these together just so the team competitive, Crosby knew what was happening here, you know, and you can't just keep and just keep on owning the ball. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not guys and keeps Sidney aside, because it's a whole different conversation. But if
I don't know if you're talking right now, but the audio is so backlogged. Like I'm hearing audio from a minute ago in my ear, and you're frozen right now. So this is not the Wi-Fi is a little bit of an issue for me right now.